We got to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers today, man. This team disappointed me big time going into the bubble. I picked them as my sleeper to get to the finals with the injury of Ben Simmons, injuring his kneecap. That kind of diminished those hopes right there. But they do have a lot of promise going into next season. When we look at some of the best lineups that they've had, 2017, 2018 was probably the best lineup that they had. That lineup got mixed up. They bring in a guy like Markelle Fultz, Dario Saric with Robert Covington. That lineup was somewhat successful. For whatever reason, they got rid of a few guys. The lineup did change again. Then we see Jimmy Butler implemented into that lineup. And that's when there were trades made to not only just have Jimmy Butler, but we also brought in Tobias Harris. More recently, we brought in a guy like Josh Richardson from the Miami Heat to throw into the starting lineup for some length and defense. But still, this lineup lacks shooting. It definitely lacks shooting. And this is when we saw Brett Brown add Shake Milton to the starting lineup, putting Ben Simmons at power forward. And that's when I thought they were a team that could seriously contend to get to the finals before the Ben Simmons injury. This team has a lot of questions. They have a lot of questions, but for me, they have 3 players on the trade block. 3 players on the trade block that all potentially could be better well suited on other teams. I really feel that way. Tobias Harris, he's definitely struggled. At least he struggled in the bubble setting and in the playoffs. But the first player we want to talk about who's on the trade block, Mike Scott. Mike Scott was a little used, lengthy power forward for the team. He can stretch the floor. He can shoot. I would love to see this guy on a team like the Lakers that's going to really have a hard time fitting players into their available salary cap space. We have a guy like Al Horford. He has multiple years left on his contract, probably one of the worst contracts in the NBA. I'm sure that this team would be desperate to find any suitors to take on this contract. And if they can shake this contract, that would be a great move for this Philadelphia 76ers team. Maybe not this year coming up, but going forward in years to come, getting rid of Al Horford's contract could be extremely valuable for this team because he's not going to produce to the level of which he's getting paid. Now, he could be a serviceable big on another team, but for this team, he will probably be coming off the bench. He's not going to be very valuable. All right, so these are the 3 players right here who are on the trade block: Tobias Harris, Mike Scott, and Al Horford. Now, we got borderline trade block guys, Josh Richardson and Zyre Smith. When we look at a guy like Josh Richardson, came from Miami as a scrappy wing defender who could make shots and make plays for himself. But again, I think a team could want a piece like this in any trade where teams could be maybe absorbing a bad contract and they're looking to add some depth to a particular trade. All right, it's going to be really hard to make up for the loss of Jimmy Butler. This is going to be extremely hard. And I know that they would have hoped for Jimmy Butler to re-sign with that team. Unfortunately, he signed with the Miami Heat, so they were kind of stuck with having to offer Tobias Harris that contract. Next up, we got Zyre Smith, the little-known rookie out of Texas Tech, and to be honest, he's just been quite sad. He has not panned out the way the Philadelphia 76ers have believed he would. Now, we're looking at a player who was traded on draft day. This man, they passed up a guy like Michael Porter Jr., and then they ended up selecting Mikal Bridges. They select Mikal Bridges, but once they select Mikal Bridges, they make the trade to send this guy to Phoenix for Zyre Smith. Now, Zyre Smith, coming out of Texas Tech, had a lot of promise. Zyre Smith had a lot of promise, but a lot of people questioned that particular trade because we didn't know what Zyre Smith could do. At that particular time, we knew exactly what Mikal Bridges could do, and so a lot of fans were upset that they gave up such a promising player for a guy who's little known, especially coming out of college. But Zyre Smith had a decent rookie campaign. But again, nothing that was eye-popping or nothing that could give you any hope going into the future. Not any serious hope going into the future. We got a guy like Korkmaz, great shooter, but the Sixers needed more shooting. So we have 4 guys who are untouchable: Matisse Thiebel, Shake Milton, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. All right, we've heard a lot about these guys in trade rumors, but guys like Shake Milton, he's up and coming. He's the point guard of the future for this team, especially when you're able to put him at point guard and you can put Ben Simmons at power forward. Those two looked as if they played extremely well together. We got Matisse Thiebel at a 6'6". He plays like he's 6'10", 6'11". One of the best defenders in the league, one of the lengthiest players in the league. He can do it all, and it looks as if he's improving his three-point shot. So if he can improve his three-point shot, continue to get better on the offensive end of the court, his defense is going to prove invaluable for this team. I don't see him coming off the bench for much longer. He will be in that starting lineup soon. All right. So, we have our first trade offer here. The first trade offer here is, hopefully, they need more shooting. So they got to look to try to get guys like a Buddy Hield, maybe a Harrison Barnes, and how can we potentially do that? Well, the key to that trade is going to be Tobias Harris. And we know the Kings are looking for that number one go-to guy to put alongside De'Aaron Fox. All right. And both players actually need a new home. Both players need a new home. I want to see Tobias Harris. His name continues to come up in trade talks. A lot of teams look at him favorably based on what he can do. So I don't think his poor performance in the bubble is going to affect his trade value. But the Kings have players. I know they want to shake that Harrison Barnes contract. I know that Buddy Hield's not happy in Sacramento. I can see them getting rid of both of these players in a salary dump. All right, we have the next trade offer. We have Tobias Harris for Zach Levine and Otto Porter. We know the Chicago Bulls are desperately trying to get rid of Otto Porter's $28 million. All right. That is going to cost them Zach Levine. He's been disgruntled in Chicago. All right. For Tobias Harris and the 21st pick in the draft, they could get rid of a bad contract. Both teams can get rid of a bad contract. The Bulls can get back in the draft, and they will have a fairly decent player. Another trade, again, this adds more shooting to this Sixers team. The key to this trade is going to be Grayson Allen and Justice Winslow. All right, when we look at Grayson Allen, he's kind of been in the shadows in Memphis. We haven't seen everything that he can do, but we know this guy can play. All right. And then, when we're looking around, then again, this is another guy. He didn't get to play in the bubble due to injury, but Justice Winslow, one of the best defenders in the league, is extremely, extremely hard-nosed, stout, and just a player on the rise, And he does give you, he does give you some crazy vibes, but this trade right here was proposed by a subscriber. Now, it's completely asinine right now. It won't happen. Josh Richardson, Al Horford for Jimmy Butler. But again, some of our fans have some crazy dreams. And, because we spoke, I told him I would put this trade offer on the table and just let him know what you thought about it. But the Miami Heat will never come up off of Jimmy Butler. I mean, the trade makes sense for the Sixers. They would love to get Jimmy Butler back. I don't think Jimmy Butler would be thrilled to go back to Philly. I don't care who's coaching. Jimmy Butler loves it in Miami. And this is just a trade that would never happen. So, unfortunately, man, I know you subscribers, you have a lot of pipe dreams. It would make sense to get Jimmy Butler and put into this dream lineup with Buddy Hield if you can make all these trades work in your favor. And then you have a bench of Matisse Thiebel, Harrison Barnes, Otto Porter. That sounds great, And, as we spoke, but again, Sixers fans, you got to be more realistic. And again, with the salary cap not going up, some of these dream scenario trades that you guys are hoping for probably will not pan out the way you think. But you guys, make sure you let me know what you think about these trades, man. I would love to hear from you. What can the Sixers do? I mean, you got to have some wishful thinking. So I do appreciate the subscriber, Wendell Marks. His name is Wendell Marks. I do appreciate you for throwing those trade offers or your opinion on those trade offers out here. You definitely gave me the idea on this video, and I do appreciate it. But again, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you guys. This free agency is gonna be extremely odd. It's not really gonna pan out the way we thought it would. With the salary cap not increasing as everyone expected, this is going to drastically affect some of the moves that teams could make. The Lakers were one of those teams. That counted on the salary cap going up so that they could sign a third star. Doesn't look as if that's going to be able to happen unless they're able to shake some of the contracts that they have, such as Danny Green's contract. So again, it's going to be an interesting scenario, very interesting scenario for a lot of these teams. I can't wait to see how it pans out. We're going to start seeing things unfold November 18th when the NBA draft starts. And hopefully we can see some teams make major moves to become competitive again. The one thing that I do like is I like the balance in the NBA right now, There's really no super teams per se, and I think some of these the teams that barely missed the playoffs, that are right outside of the playoffs, they have a really, really good opportunity to either get better with the draft or simply get better via trade, because there's a lot of disgruntled stars out there that want to move around. But again, you guys let me know what you think. If we have any 76ers fans, if you think that trade proposed by our subscriber, Josh Richardson and Al Horford for Jimmy Butler, is that completely asinine? Does it make no sense at all? I think it makes no sense at all. I know it won't ever happen, but he said if you got, I promised him to give him the opportunity to put that trade offer out there. And if you guys think that's a great trade offer, and that's something that the Miami Heat would do, all right, just make sure you type his name in the chat window. All right, type his name in the chat, and then if you guys agree with that particular trade scenario, we'll make sure he gets a $25 gift card. But I told him ahead of time that that's not something that the Miami Heat will be willing to do. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to the video if you have not done so already. We appreciate the support that you've given us thus far. Grind to 20K. We're grinding to 20K. We're creeping up to 14K right now. Subscribers have been looking really weird lately, really, really weird lately, but at the end of the day, YouTube can't hold us back. People who unsubscribe can't hold us back. We're going to continue to grow on a daily basis, and we appreciate everyone. But it's FYF Sports, man, and we out.